if you're in that realm where most people are in a neighborhood, there's going to be a $350,000 home and there's going to be a $500,000 home, all in the same neighborhood, right? There's a car, and there's a car where you can get a version of that car that maybe cost $35,000, and there's a version of that car that costs $47,000, but it could be the same vehicle.
The Teslas, like you can get the $30,000 Tesla.
Yeah, and even sometimes it's the same exact car, right? But, oh, I got the give it a name package, the platinum package, the this package, the that package, and the swing could be $6,000, $7,000. We go, well, we get convinced, well, it's only a $120 difference in payment. Or if you get this house, it's only $300 a month more. Well, what difference does that $300 there and the $150 there and the $50 over here? Now we're talking about a real change of lifestyle for how much free money we could actually have.
Welcome back to the Financial Forecast. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Byron.
And today we're going to be talking about some financial mistakes that people make, the most common ones that people make.
Okay, good. We all love to hear about our mistakes.
Who better to talk about your mistakes than you?
Yeah.
It's when other people get involved that it becomes very controversial.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, as far as, first, since we're going to talk about mistakes today, I don't want anybody to ever feel like judgment from it. I want them to understand that getting advice and getting help from other people is no different than like being in a relationship. You know, I think we might have talked about another episode, but boyfriend advice or girlfriend advice. Sometimes we're too close to the situation to give ourselves good advice. We're too emotionally involved or too wrapped up in it. We can't see the forest for the trees. And so having a good advisor, having somebody outside of that will talk with you and kind of help you understand what's happening and look at it from a different view helps a lot of times with getting the right advice. That's not emotionally driven. It's not driven just because I'm mad at somebody or happy with somebody. It's driven from the straight facts of the case.
Well, and also to say, we've all made these mistakes. Yeah. I've made everything that we talked about, mistakes that I've made personally and had to learn, the hard way, the good way. Yeah,
I think and the sooner we can figure out or admit that it's a mistake and start working on it, the better off we are, instead of just wallowing in it or never asking the question or not doing any of the things to remedy it or fix it. We can just have that mistake be a mistake and then get past it. But lots of times I think we'll make a mistake and then we'll try to justify that mistake over months and years, and time just keeps going. And that's time that we desperately need to get us on the right track, and time that we need to be able to experience what that right track has for us.
Right. It makes sense. And it also, again, those goalposts, those things, they change throughout life. So again, just because one mistake was made earlier doesn't mean you're going to continue to make it if you have a financial advisor. Just like I tell people, having a coach, any professional has somebody that objectively can look at their situation and say, hey, and give them advice. Right. Everybody needs to have somebody that they can take advice from, that they can listen to. But again, just like any professional athlete, you would have a coach, right? Yeah. And you have somebody that can see everyone and put it all together, but also have enough faith in the strategies that you've put in place to know that when you're not hands-on and it's not, meeting time, that those things are that's kind of like a playbook, right? Those things are going to play out the way that you would like them to.
Yeah, help you fix your flaws and help you celebrate on those things that you do well, and also recognize that. So sometimes we're also not good at recognizing things that we're doing well at, or when we've accomplished something. And so having somebody on the outside that can say, hey, you done good. Like you said, that coach mentality, hey, great play. Or somebody that says, hey, that's not the way we practiced it, but it'll take you through. So hopefully we can go through some common things that are there for people that we can give some advice to help with that. And then be able to I think we're going to do a second episode where we move into some things that are going to be a little bit more uncommon, or at least they won't happen as many times in your life, but they still will happen.
Right. So what do you think is the most common financial mistake that we make?
I don't know if it's the most mistake, but I think a lot of us deal with debt. Anytime I've ever told anybody that I work in finance or I do anything with finance or I talk with people anything about finance, we will hit debt almost first. It's always debt. And that debt normally deals with credit card debt is going to be the number one thing I hear about money. So I don't know what's happening with credit cards themselves, but to me, it's hard for me to even use one myself. Just because I hear so much about it. Everybody I talk to in credit card debt, how do I fix my credit card debt? What's this going on with credit card debt? And I just worked really hard in my personal life to get out to the fact, get from under the fact that I needed to use one. So I would say first and foremost, and it sounds real controversial, but if you want to not have that mistake, like don't get one. It seems like as soon as we get one, we start using it and it gets out of control. And I think that's going to be the biggest theme that we'll come back to with credit cards is there's really, for most people, there's no smart way for us to use them. It almost always leads us to be out of control because it's an open ticket. Just, hey, look, here's your balance. We're not going to show it to you. You don't have to look at it. You can just keep plopping this thing up there as much and as often as you want. And that's what we do. And then we get a bill. And even on the bill could say it's $5,000, but you only got to pay $300. So you pay your $300 and then you charge it again. And before you know it, that thing we talked about that rule of 72, where, if your money is being saved at 3%, it doubles every 24 years. If it's being saved at 12%, it doubles every 6 years. Well, now they're charging us 20 and 25%. So our balance is doubling every 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. So it gets to the point where it's moving so fast that our payments can't keep up with it.
Right.
They're charging us more in interest than we're making on payments. And so everybody says, well, what's the smart way to get around that? And I'm like, well, you almost have to never start it.
Yeah. And when you do.
And when you do, it's going to give you lame advice that nobody wants to hear. And that advice is, if you do have a credit card, when you get a balance, you should work to pay off that on the next statement. It really should be a break glass in emergency, or this is only for these specific purchases, and I come and turn around and pay for that thing. I think we still need to have the money in place before we purchase something on a credit card, because otherwise it just kind of gets out of control. It becomes this thing where we can get the things that we want or need to get without having to pay for them. And so we have an issue later. Sometimes what I see is we'll use a credit card and then we have money that could have paid for it, but because we use a credit card, now we think this money is free. And so we use this money to buy other things. Right. And so now we are not allocating the money towards what we need. And so the credit card overall is just one of those dangerous things. I would say you got to treat it like something that has a real pointy tip. Okay. And you got to be, hey, look, you can use that. It's very useful, but you need to be very careful with it because it can cut you. And the thing with the credit card is it cuts you silently. It does that over and over again. I haven't heard, since we started using them, not one generation has broken the curse.
No, and they just keep actually raising the interest, which I think is, I thought they criminalized that as well.
Yeah, the interest rates gets higher. And then also I think you were talking about earlier about it just becomes so easy to use. Like now a lot of people have tied them to their phone and tied them to all their websites. And so we can literally go on a website and just go click, 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 and boom, everything comes to us.
Right.
Okay. And you don't, and I know at our house, that Amazon thing, it keeps coming. Okay. I'm just confident that it's being paid for with money. But lots of times when we open the package, and I'll say we to be nice, because I don't order anything online, but let's just say we to be nice. Once it comes, we go, I wonder what's in it, like it's Christmas. We forgot what we ordered. We forgot why we ordered it or what the purpose was, but it's been bought.
You're looking for dopamine rush when you purchased it online, dopamine rush when you get the package and open it, and then dopamine when you either use it or most people move on to the next
move on to the
dopamine
next
surge.
thing. And so it's tied right there to that deal. And so it's as simple. You don't even have to go through the process of putting in the numbers.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, and if you think about it, again, everyone, I don't know, credit cards are great and you get points or whatever. I would urge you, just look at what a child does, okay? I remember when my kids were smaller, if they wanted to buy something, then I would give them the money for it, right? So now they have the money. Actually, I just saw a video the other day of a little girl in Target, and she wanted the stuff in Target. She had her own money, and then so she had the stuff. She was putting it up on the register, and then she started crying. And the dad said, "Well, why are you crying?" And she said, "They took all my money." They took all my money. And she was just crying, just big, huge tears. They took all my money. It's because her paying for it and her seeing the money leave her hand made her think, oh, they took it. It's a different emotional feeling when you have to cough up that cash. Yeah, she might have really wanted that thing, but when she saw her money leave, she wanted the money more. I noticed that when I made them pay for things, or even myself, if I have to sometimes go in my pocket, I still one of the weirdos that carry cash sometimes, and I'll try to pay for stuff in cash just because I'm like, if I have to pay for it in cash, I will feel it. I'll also use my debit card, which is the same. But at least then I could see it. If I go on there and look at it right afterwards, I see that money got deducted. I now have less money to spend. So it makes me think, well, do I really want this thing? If I was to buy it on a credit card, I don't have to check that. It just happens. And then I don't remember what I bought. Again, 30, 60 days later, well, what are all these charges? And they just kind of get out of control. Or we use it to make up for lifestyle. Like we're not maybe making enough. Or we're not making what we think we're worth yet. And so we're going to supplement that lifestyle with credit. We use it to make up for sometimes other choices we made. Maybe we're living a little bit outside of our means and where we live or how we live our life. Or, I used to tell you don't need to have shrimp with everything. Leave the side of shrimp. But we're always constantly getting that. And so the credit card helps us fill that gap until it doesn't. It gets larger and larger and larger and larger. And then it becomes this overwhelming, looming monster in your life that's constantly looking. And it's for things that, again, we can't remember that we bought.
I have a funny, interesting story about that, if you'd indulge me just a second. But sure. I think we've actually talked about this in depth over the past couple months because my health was not so great last year. And so part of supplementing income while I was ill was to take money from savings and to kind of band-aid those problems over. And the last time that I was in there in December, it wasn't because of the breathing, it was because my heart rate was over 250 beats a minute for 4 days. And every test they ran, they kept saying we don't know what's making your heart, there's no blockages, we don't know what's causing, you're having a heart attack, but we don't know what's causing it. And everything is healthy. All your tests are coming back normal. So we don't know what's going on. And I was doing a couple things, but they were also, when I first got there to try to get my heart rate to go down, they gave me Xanax and Ambien and all these depressants to...
Sounds like a concert.
It was quite a concert that I attended and was I was the one performing and the audience and everything in the background. But that all happened. In all of that, when you mix things like Ambien and Xanax, me personally had some blackouts, right? And apparently what I do when I'm completely blacked out and in the hospital and have no one to regulate me, I bought everything that was in my Amazon saved for later cart. And a couple sites that were the Temu sites. And I do things with those sites. So to kind of push this together, I have found that I can get the same rush of dopamine of online shopping without purchasing it, just putting it in the shopping cart and being if it's a couple days later, I'll get it later if I do decide that I need it. But it's kind of like going into the store and walking around with something,
Right.
and by the time I get done, if I still really think that I need it, then I'll go purchase it. But I've been doing this with like Amazon shopping cart or like Temu shopping cart. So when I was on this Ambien, Xanax, Oxycodone, like all this fueled stay in the hospital, I purchased all of my Save for Later carts, and I wasn't aware that I had done this at all. And so I was in the hospital for 2 weeks at that time, and when I got home, Miles was like, "What the hell did you do?" Because there were packages everywhere, and this was 2 weeks before Christmas. So what I had done in this fueled state was I had gone Christmas shopping for like the boys and for Miles and for myself, and everything that I had just put off till later was like YOLO.
Yeah.
And so when I came home from the hospital and my in-laws were here, and I was like, "What the hell is all this?" And he's like, "What is it, Lindsay?" And I'm like, "I have no idea what." And we had to do all this investigation work. Not only had I done this, but then I archived all the orders so you couldn't just see them. You had to go like search for these orders that I had done. And I got like $4,000 worth of like.
Wow. Yeah, that's, I mean.
But I had no recollection of it. Like I totally understand that I did it. I totally know that I'm capable of it.
Right.
I'm totally can understand the mind frame that I was in when I was like,
Yeah, because with most of those things, it's kind of the heat of the moment thing.
That's what I say. So
Like,
I've learned the dopamine rush comes from like putting it in your cart, and then I don't have to buy it. I can still get that like effect. And then again, if like some days later I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's in my cart. I do need to get that." Then I'll do it some days later. That's how I've learned to regulate myself. But then I was put in a situation where there was nothing regulated, and I was like,
Yeah, and I'm
guess
gonna,
what I can do from my hospital bed?
yeah,
Because I'm bored.
yeah, we use it as a, and people, we're gonna make all kinds of excuses. Like I hear, "Oh man, I use credit card because it's safer to do that."
There's no
and,
excuse for what I
yeah,
did. Like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I,
Yeah, oh, they'll say, well, it's safer because you can get your money back if somebody hacks it and all those kind of things.
Which also
Sure.
happened at the same time. Remember I told you, I was like, then I went to use another account and they're like, "There's no money in that account." Like, what do you mean? And I, oh, that's when my identity, then my credit cards got like duplicated or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I tell you, like, that was all my fault. But then there was all these other things that happened that weren't my fault. Like, I didn't rob myself, right? But like, had I not been doing whatever the hell I was doing, I probably wouldn't have been subject to that kind of like setup or situation.
Yeah. So I always tell people, like, some of the easiest way is when you have those things, all your websites and everything, just don't let it remember your card.
Right.
Like, I know it seems annoying to have to put that in every time, but it should be annoying to put it in every time. Like, if you really need that thing, the 2 minutes that it takes to put in your credit card number again is not is not going to stop you from needing that thing. So just don't save your information there to be easily and quickly purchased. Okay, same thing happens with like when we were talking about like not just little children, but even grown adults with all the phone apps and the games that you can play. You can have in app purchases and everything else. And it's $1 here and $1 there, and before you know it, it could be. I've seen cases of $800, $1,000, $3,000, $4,000 spent on different games and different apps. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you tie? I don't care what it is, credit card, debit card. Why would I give anything an open ability to just come at me, right? Because these are sometimes the same people that don't want to be on auto pay. Like, I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to be on auto pay. I don't want anybody messing around in my account." But everything is tied to your phone, and you got your credit card saved, you got your debit card saved, and everything can just be at the whim. And so like he said, "Oh, what if I am in a weird state?" Well, then I'm going to be able to purchase things. What if I'm feeling bad emotionally? I'm going to be able to just purchase things. What if just somebody else grabs my phone? Whatever reason, it could be the family, it could be stolen, it could be whatever. They could still purchase and get those things. So why would we tie our information to that? Okay. Also, I would kind of urge people, like, we didn't used to go shopping every day. It used to maybe be an event. Now I sound like an old person because I am, right? But we'd go shopping on maybe a Saturday or a Sunday, like you had to make a whole special trip. Now we can shop from our couch And so people literally shop all day long or think I need to buy that and then purchase it. And maybe we can put ourselves on a little bit different schedule. Hey, I'm only going to get on there to purchase things on this day and at this time versus I'm constantly looking for something to buy, constantly looking for the newest thing that I need when we may not necessarily need that. We can't all be blessed to be like me and just be cheap, right? So I'm just naturally cheap. That's a good thing that helps me in some areas. Some of it I've broken out of being as cheap, but I just want to be able to have a little bit control over my money so my money doesn't control me. I've definitely been through that state in life. I would think another mistake we kind of make, it's another, all these are good because it is mistakes. It's going to be controversial. But I think sometimes we just, when it comes to large purchases I would call car and home. Okay. I think we sometimes stretch just a little bit too much because we feel like, especially in a home, well, it's a home, I can never go wrong. And I would gather that you can, okay? Because the truth is, lots of times we could be in the neighborhood, and inside of a neighborhood, there's probably a $200,000 difference between the lowest price home and the highest price home, depending on how. I'd imagine if you have a $2 million home, you're probably not paying a lot of attention to what I'm talking about right now, okay? Maybe you did it, or you just don't care, right? But if you're in that realm where most people are in a neighborhood, there's gonna be a $350,000 home, and there's gonna be a $500,000 home, all in the same neighborhood. Right? There's a car, and there's a car where you can get a version of that car that maybe cost $35,000, and there's a version of that car that costs $47,000. But it could be these same vehicles.
The Teslas, like you can get the $30,000 Tesla.
Yeah, and even sometimes it's the same exact car, right? But I got the given a name package, the platinum package, the this package, the that package, and the swing could be $6,000, $7,000. We go, we get convinced, it's only a $120 difference in payment. Or if you get this house, it's only $300 a month more. Well, what difference does that $300 there and the $150 there and the $50 over here? Now we're talking about a real change of lifestyle for how much free money we could actually have. And then maybe even if it's not free, it's money that we could have that's ours going towards savings, investment, or just feeling good. To know that I didn't, on the 1st and the 15th when I got paid, I didn't spend all my money. I got paid on the 1st and then I still had $800, $1,000 left over. I got paid on the 15th. I had more money left over because I made small changes. Yeah, I want to be in that neighborhood, but we don't have to be in the $500,000 house. We could be in the $350,000 house. That's going to save us $300-$400 a month in payments. I bought this car, but instead of buying the platinum package, I bought this package, which is $6,000 or $7,000 less. But I'm not gonna have wireless CarPlay. I'm gonna have to plug it in. But if you told me, hey Byron, I'll pay you $100 a month to plug in your phone when you get in, I would say, well, send me the check, right? But when it works the opposite way, or maybe we want that platinum package, we go back 1 year and 8,000 miles on the car or whatever, but we can still get that thing. So I think sometimes we're thinking, I deserve this, of this, of this, of this, but there's so many people in this world. And at the end of the day, everything's gonna get old anyway. Whatever you get 6 months from now, it's not gonna be as cool as it was 6 months ago.
And the minute you buy like a brand new car and drive it off of the lot, it depreciates.
Yeah, it's going to depreciate
$10,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an investment, that's for one, but it is something that we like, and I love cars.
It's a necessity.
Yeah, especially like we live in Texas, so the car is really close to a necessity because you're not going to get a lot of places without a vehicle here. We don't have like massive public transit, or not in all areas,
effective,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not effective. It can't work out. So you're going to need a vehicle. And I'm not even saying the Dave Ramsey, you got to buy $1,000 car, but I'm saying if you're going out and doing these things, why do we only I got to get this and this and this and this and this and this, when it may not be that important, especially not right now, where we're trying to maybe get some money and some savings and some things under our belt. And then two, where those little corners that we cut cause us to not have big issues later.
Right.
And so many times we're not taking those small changes. Like, we're sitting around going like, I'm trying to figure out how to cut my subscriptions down. And I'm like, well, you could have just bought the house next door to yours that was $50,000 cheaper.
Had all your subscriptions.
Yeah. You could have kept all your subscriptions. Maybe you do like to go to the gym, right? Like, or whatever it is. Like I have 2 gym memberships to 2 different gyms. One's close to work and one's close to home. Depends on where I'm at. Ooh, it's $20, right? Well, that's not going to really faze me because I'm also not the most expensive home in my neighborhood.
Right.
There's a house in my neighborhood that is twice the cost of mine.
Right.
What's that's the money that I'm keeping for me or the money that you save and you put away. So sometimes we're looking for small changes on small things, and that's hard to do.
Right.
You have to go to the big things, and that's where you can make
Small changes.
Those changes change it dramatically. Getting that car that's 1 year old, getting the base model instead of the upper model, right? Or whatever. Like my daughter bought a car recently. She was looking at it, blah, blah. I said, the difference between these 2 vehicles is the wheels. And so she bought the car $6,000-$7,000 cheaper.
Because of wheels.
Literally, I went on Marketplace for somebody who got those wheels that were on the upgraded package because somebody's going to buy them and then say, I don't want those, and head right over to their local shop and get something cooler.
Right.
And then they want to sell these for almost nothing.
Right.
And so we just bought the wheels for almost nothing and we just put them on. You saved $5,000 in that process of doing that. And now, is everybody going to do that? No, but there's little places where if we need to, if we're trying to get our money together, where we can make these small cuts in our life, where we can just be a little bit more inventive about how we get the things that we want, or just not get that thing that we want if it's not as important.
Right. One of my, I guess, when my stepdad was with Primerica and learning all of the financial literacy, it was actually was Dave Ramsey that had like a whole, or still has the whole like financial literacy set, like where they go through to 12, and we've gone through several of these different things. But one of the main kind of lessons that I took from that is, especially with females and car purchases, just like you're talking about, they will go after you and be like, well, you need this one because it's $5,000 more expensive, because they'll go kind of after you. And I'm not just saying just women, but women are common, right? Targets to all that, and seen as more easily manipulated.
I think
in those situations,
I think they get a lot of us. Period.
They get a lot of us, but women, it seems at least a projection or a perception or a prejudgment that they go towards women banking on the less knowledge of car or finance, of any kind of part of that. But what I was always taught was to kind of avoid all of that. Take a man with you, right? So like my husband or my parents have gone with me to buy any car that I've got. But also whenever you go to buy those cars, when you're thinking about it, because our whole thing was never to get stuck in like the car payment system, right? So just like credit card, not buying the car that's out of your financial means, and you may be able to swing that $500 car payment or whatever it is. But with us, it was always no payments are good payments, right? So whenever we were kind of going through all of this, it was before you have the car, say you go and you picked out your car, it's gonna be $300 a month, and you've got $200 in insurance and gas or whatever. So you've got $500 a month budgeted out. So you're going to save for 6 months. And if that doesn't bother you or like change all of that, then go buy the car. But usually by that time it is, or I guess where I learned the lesson was, even buying the car, still pay yourself. So say you paid cash for that car, but you were going to pay $350 a month or $500 a month. You still pay that payment to yourself every single time. And then when it comes time to go buy a new car, you can be like, hey, I could go buy in with the payments, or I can just pay for it. But also if you go in, and they taught me this as far as just like from a female perspective, go in telling them that you're going to finance, you're going to do all these things, and let them talk it up to you and let them, sell you on all this stuff. And then turn around and be like, okay, forget all that. I'm just going to pay for it cash because I've already been paying my car payments to myself, and I don't have to deal with all of this that goes into the interest, into the upsellings that they do, and they target more vulnerable people women just tend to usually be in that category prejudice.
Yeah, I could give, especially for vehicles, there's a step-by-step for it. So I would tell people to do these things. Hey, we got to buy a vehicle, whatever it is. Number one, go to whatever your bank is or your local credit union or whatever and see what kind of loan you qualify for. Okay. Now, they may give you a whole bunch of money, may give you a little bit, but you need to know what you qualify for, what rates you qualify for, and how that stuff works out so that you can have something to compare to. You may or may not take that loan, but you need a baseline of that. So that's number one. Number two, I would start getting on the apps and things that we just talked about and looking for the type of car that you want and what price ranges it's in, because we're not going to buy a car based off of the payment. And the first time we see the price should not be when we show up to pick it up from the dealer. We should know, hey, for this particular car, they're all priced in this certain range.
So maybe this financial mistakes or common financial mistakes is not going through this process.
Yeah, not going through this process. So, and I've definitely with cars, I've probably bought 32 cars in my life. And so I've bought a lot of vehicles and I've never really bought them bad to where I was upside down or anything crazy in them. And I've always followed that process. So I get pre-qualified for a loan so you know what the loan numbers look like. Because sometimes that may tell you that you don't need a new car yet. Okay, hey, look, I can't take this payment. I don't like these interest rates, whatever it is. But now if I see that, okay, I got a baseline. It also tells me where I can feel free to kind of shop as far as not my range, because my range should be determined by my budget, but it tells me, okay, I know I qualify for this much or the vehicle. Then I would pick a vehicle or a couple of vehicles and I would just put in a radius and I would just look to see what they cost and what's in them. You know, what are these running? Okay, they're running anywhere from 25 to 32,000 or from 31 or whatever. But I'm going to start looking at a range so I know what they actually cost. When I go to the actual dealership to look at the vehicle, I am going to, if I'm doing any type of dealing or any type of negotiating, I'm negotiating on the price of the vehicle, not the monthly payment. Those two things are so drastically different. You can get a payment that fits you, but will have you paying too much for the vehicle. So the mistake will come later because when you try to trade that vehicle in or sell it, they're going to tell you you're upside down. You owe more on it than it's worth. And that's probably because you paid more for it than you should have paid for it. So we would deal and you would negotiate on the price of the vehicle only. Why? Because you already got a loan. So we can easily go to, let's just use 30,000. If I know this vehicle should cost around 30,000 and I go in to negotiate and I see it's at 33, I can say, hey, I'm willing to pay 30. If they say, yeah, we'll sell it to you for 30. Well, I already had a loan and I know that $30,000 at my bank is going to cost me $500 a month. Now, if they can come back and say, hey, we can do that same $500 a month for 5 years, or actually $500 a month, 5 years. So $500 a month for 5 years. They say, hey, we can do $482 a month for the same 5 years, and I may take that deal. Now I can look at that payment, but I would have done that based off of that price of 30,000. So many people buy based off of the payment of the vehicle that they don't actually know how much they're paying for the vehicle. So they could be paying $5,000 too much, $10,000 too much. You can get all these add-ons and things that bring the price. So they started off with a $350, but by the time they walk out now it's $450. And again, that little bit of change could have you where when you were sitting at the table, it wasn't a big deal. Right. But when you're sitting at your kitchen table, now where am I going to find an extra $150? Hey, I'm late on this thing because I didn't have the extra $80. Most people are not behind by thousands of dollars every month. Right. I find a lot of times when people sit down, they're like, man, if I could just have an extra $200, if I could just have an extra $250, but then I flip up this $1,000 car payment or I flip up this $3,000 mortgage payment. I'm like, oh man, maybe if we could have bought that a little bit smarter, we wouldn't be searching for this money. So having that, if I'm going to go buy a car, and I'm not even talking about whether you need to buy one or not, I need to follow that step if I really want to be there. I shouldn't just show up and they say, you can get this for $600 a month. And I say, sounds like a good deal. What are you basing that off of?
Right.
Okay. And the same thing should happen with a home. Now, most good realtors should make you qualify before you walk in. Okay. But they're going to give you a formula too. And they say, hey, if you want to have an $800,000 house, I think right now, if you wanted an $800,000 home, it said you should make around $180,000 a year. And I would say if you have an $800,000 home and all you make is 180, that's crazy. Okay. That's crazy. Yeah. On paper, can you afford it? Yes. But in real life, can you afford it? No. Okay. Even with that whole 15 grand a month, when you start swinging that $500 or $5,500 house payment out of 15 after you pay taxes and everything, now you're living really regular. So I would think that's going to lead to some other issues. It leads you back to the credit card thing.
Right.
So most people, because they're going to look at themselves, they're going to say, I mean, Lindsay, you're going to say to yourself, hey, man, I'm making almost $200,000 a year.
How about the conversation that we actually have had recently where I told you, like, neither one of us need any new cars, any new anything.
Mm-hmm.
I want this car until we can make it so that all of these endeavors pay for that car. I'm not getting anything because we are, we'll call it just, we're so comfortable with being able to save a little bit every month, but also we don't have car payments. We don't really have anything other than what reoccurs. Taking
advantage of being in a good spot and helping yourself be better.
Right. And do I want a new car? Do I want these new things? Yes, I would love that. However, until these other things are supporting that easily to where I don't have to have this conversation where it's like, if I just had $200 extra a month, but what I say is we get to this place where I'm like, yeah, I really do want this car, but do I need it? No, because the minute that I take that money that's going to savings or money that's going allocated to other little things that I very much enjoy doing, I'm like, oh no, I guess I don't, because I just don't want to have a car payment. That was kind of what I was going at with the story before, is that was always kind of what was put into my head, is that car payments and interest will take so much from you. Interest in general will take so much from you and it'll cost you so much more. That's where that whole kind of lesson came from, is like, all right, if you think you want that car and it's going to cost you $500 a month, so for 6 months, save your $500 a month as if that's what you're paying your car payment. And that way, if you feel it, if you don't, however that sits with you, then that determines whether you can afford this or not.
Yeah.
And then by that time that you usually decide, oh yeah, I can afford to go do that, then you usually have the cash to pay for it.
Yeah,
and then it becomes addicting to where you're like, I don't need a payment.
Or you're like the little girl at Target and you're like, I don't want them to take all my money.
I don't want them to take my money. I want the things, but I don't. Yeah, but I want the money more.
Yeah, I want the what it provides for me. Because most of us end up being overcommitted.
Right.
And so we're overcommitted. We have too many things. The second is most of us we're frustrated, and we're frustrated because we look at what we make. And then I'm gonna change it to those, because especially this is where I end up with. They talk about people sometimes who make good money, but they're still in a lot of debt, and they say, well, where does that come from? And I get it easily. They're overcommitted. So, because you look at it and you say, like the earlier example, $800,000 house, you can afford that if you make 180. Well, we got to separate those two things. Okay, let's say you make $200,000 a year.
And whose mindset, by the way, is like the afford? I guess afford is subjective, right?
It's subjective, but what you're saying to yourself, because if you're making $200,000 a year, I don't care about all these videos that say blah 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 blah. That is a lot of money, and you are probably doing something of extreme importance. You're important where you're at, and you feel important, and you feel like you make a lot of money. And I'm not saying that you don't, and you do. But what happens is we feel like it's more than what it is, so we overcommit ourselves. Right. Or we get this thing where
people say, I make $200,000 a year, but I live paycheck to paycheck.
They live paycheck to paycheck because we've overcommitted ourselves, and you're going to get more frustrated and spend even more. Right. Because you feel like you should have extra money. Right. I've had this conversation with many people. They're like, well, I should have extra money. And I go, you should. But you don't, and then they spend more, and they spend even recklessly because they're so frustrated with the fact that they're like, well, I make $200,000 a year. I make $250,000 a year. How come I don't have any money? And then they'll just buy anything and everything because emotionally they're just upset because they're like, well, how is this not happening? And again, it's those.
They're trying to regulate with spending even.
Yeah, just trying to fix themselves with spending. And I'm like, no, it's because we probably made these commitments where instead of getting the $600,000 house, we got the $800,000 house. Instead of buying the $50,000 car, we bought the $65,000 car. And those little things have sapped out that money that would have been there to make us feel like we have money.
Right.
Like, and nothing makes you, your stuff never really makes you feel like you have money. Your money makes you feel like you have money. Because
Right.
you can have all kinds of neat stuff, but if you got no money, you don't really feel like you have money. Right?
I would say, ironically, I'm kind of in that situation where, like, not to say it's like we don't make good money. My husband makes good money. But when we have a lot of like nice stuff that we saved, worked hard, and like did that stuff for. So I have a lot of nice stuff, but I also, again, like having the money more than I like having the nice stuff. So all the stuff that is nice, like it's great. We did spend money on it. However, we like having money more. So we won't be
it's
spending
gotta be
more of that. But like, yeah, that stuff's nice. Yeah, I paid a lot of money for it. I worked just to pay for that.
Yeah, you're working just to pay for that. So you got to kind of think, well, do I really want
Right.
this thing outside of today?
Right.
Is it just a thing where I'd like it today and it won't make a big difference to me in life later? Or is it a thing where I really think I really want this long term? But there's got to be there doesn't have to be, but there should be a point where we start drawing a balance. Like, who am I buying this for?
Right.
Am I buying it for me, and am I buying it for other people? Because the truth is, other people won't really notice
Right.
the difference. If I get something that's a year old versus brand new, 99% of people don't notice the difference. If I have something on that's designer versus something that's nice and well-fitting, most people won't notice the difference. And depending on where we're at in life, going through that. Like my mom used to say, well, if you can't be fashionable, you can at least be clean and ironed. And that does make a difference, right? And so it's kind of one of those things where, hey, look, maybe I'm not there, or maybe I am. Hey, I got a bunch of money coming in. I am this earner that's making, $250,000 a year. I'm in the top, 4% or whatever it is for that income. Well, I need to have the money that justifies that, and not just in the way that I spend, but what I have, to where everything would not be an issue. I don't have to worry about finding $1,000 or cashing this out to get this, or waiting for a paycheck or waiting for a pay date. Yeah. That happens. And it happens even at lesser income, right? Well, hey, I'm making 50 grand a year. Okay, great. What should a person who's making 50 grand a year, what should their lifestyle look like? Right. And then establishing that, and then saying, well, within that, again, I'm going to be able to save part of my income so that I can not have to live this way forever. Right. Because if I'm making 50 grand, but I have saved $250,000, I can live a better lifestyle. Right. I may not ever get my income to get better. That's a harsh reality. Nobody wants to talk about it. But your income may not get that much larger. But your income does not have to determine your lifestyle or your wealth, because if you can get a little bit saved, a little bit saved, a little bit saved, you can step up your lifestyle because you still have the cash. Right. And once you have enough cash, because we talk about investing, it should make its own money. Right. So yeah, I make $50,000 a year, but hey, maybe I've been able to set aside $250,000, $4,000. At 4%, that's $10,000 a year. Right. So I can have an extra $10,000 a year that I just live off of. It's like a cheat code almost to having your income go up. Right.
I want to touch on one other thing that we kind of talked about before, but we had used a couple examples. I have a friend that her kids were playing games on their phone, and I think it was like a farming game or something, and they had inadvertently spent like over $800 on a video game, like buying food or like buying stuff inside the game. So there's this kind of side to it, or there's this area that I want to address about like the online spending. Is we're talking about people are able to shop all day long. It's not just shopping for tangible things. These are also people are buying virtual things that they will never tangibly actually hold, but they are having a emotional and physiological response to this. So kind of like the person that, saves the Amazon cart and purchases later. And again, you're getting these kind of spread out dopamine influxes. And then there are the people that it's not even just like little, like that's just one example that I have of friends that their kids got on their phone and started charging up, and they went to talk to the gaming company. The gaming company's like, sorry, you did this. It's your deal. They used it. And then there's the other side of it to where I know a ton of people that are very much not even just like straight gambling. It's like, let's go to Vegas. Let's go spend this money. They play like fantasy football, or they play these sports games they're all virtual games. They're making so much money. There's so much influx because like you just got back from Vegas. There's a whole bunch of physical things that people can get into and go physically gamble with. But this movement of online gaming and being able to spend all of that money, people are spending thousands of dollars in debt for things that they will never will never touch, but they are experiencing right now. And so they are kind of having this, I guess it's kind of like a spiritual battle for like where your attention's going, because money is what follows, right? But your attention's what they're going for first, because you're not going to pay for anything that you're not going to pay attention to. Yeah. So if they can keep you locked in and they can keep a steady stream of it's truly endless and like boundless what they can kind of reach and do.
They're just trying to fight boredom. So they're fighting boredom on their couch.
Like we said, there's only two reasons that people do anything from motivational psychology, right? There's only two reasons that people do anything in life. It's to seek pleasure and to avoid pain. So gambling, you're seeking pleasure. Hit that dopamine. Avoiding the pain of loss and I feel like a failure because of all of these things. And so when it comes to money and to managing it, what I'm trying to kind of make the connection is we're talking about money because money technically is kind of also imaginary now because we pay for everything online on cards. It's not physical because we said, if I pay it to you physically, I'm feeling that. Now, not only are they feeling physically the hits for the dopamine, but now they're watching this and it's tied to a whole, multi-billion-dollar system, the NFL, the NBA, all these different things that are pumping more and more and more money into it. Is there a way that you can see that this is a huge common mistake, at least that I've talked to, again, a ton of people that they're involved in this and they're paying a ton of money a month to be in these fantasy football leagues or to be in these things. And then when they lose or when they win, they're paying extra money. Before that, I have people that have told me they like $100,000 in debt, credit card debt, because of gaming, from playing like poker online to playing fantasy football or fantasy teams or whatever it is. What is your kind of, I guess, outlook on the way that that's going?
I mean, it's going to still boil down to the same thing. Like there's going to be places in our life where we have to exercise some type of self-control, and that everything about it is hard to exercise self-control. So like if we talk about kids, first of all, I'd be like, send your kids to bed at 7. Okay. I don't know what they're doing up playing games anyway. So get those bad boys out of there. I don't care if the sun is up. You're going to sleep, buddy. So that's it. And second, they should not have any type of account tied to any video game. I would tell you, number one, if you can separate all those cards from your phone.
Just common mistakes in general, whether it be anything in general, like separate your cards, your automatic paying systems. That will start the small changes.
And if you have to have something in there because I like to pay for stuff, then make sure that maybe most of them you can tie some debit card, and maybe that debit card never has a big balance. I used to call it a hamburger card. Yeah. So I do have like something tied to my phone, but it's a hamburger card, and a hamburger card. I mean, you can't buy much more than a few hamburgers with the balance that's in there. But if I need to do a pay or whatever, and the good thing about that, if I ever need more money, I could just go on, transfer the money to that card.
Right.
And then still pay with my phone. But I don't have anything with a unlimited budget or an unlimited balance that's tied to my phone where I can make purchases from anything.
So I would say that would be our common mistakes that we should avoid. That's a step that we could do.
Yeah. And number two, I would say if you're talking about like gambling and stuff, again, you kind of have to just I don't know if it requires therapy, but you have to look at, what am I really doing? Gambling was normally reserved for taking a special trip, setting aside money to go do that. Also reserved for like movies and plays where we watch people get into trouble. right? Like, remember that movie, Adam Sandler, The Uncut Gems, right?
Yeah.
Where he just keeps going it. Realize that nothing else about that gambling leads to anything other than that.
Right.
Now, if you have a rough weekend in Vegas or whatever, and you're like, oh man, I was just gambling myself, great. That's what you set aside for it. Hopefully you set aside money for that, and that's what you did. But again, to do that from your couch on a day-to-day basis, you realize you're setting up more and more times where you can be there for failure. And again, it's a credit card if you tie it to it, and it's going to go from 10,000 to 20,000 to 30,000. And then even if you stop, now if it's doing 25% interest, now it's gaining $7,000 a year, $8,000 a year, which is $700 or $800 a month. Right. So now we start looking at the real numbers of it. Because again, most of us, I think, are payment organized. We're not the total amount.
Yep.
So if I tell somebody they $8,000, they'll be like, eh. And if I tell them they owe me $700 a month, they're like, what? Because we're payment oriented. So, but yeah, that interest is now $700 a month on that money. If you have $30,000 of credit card debt at a 25% interest rate, that's $7,500 a year. Compounding.
Yep.
$7,500 a year is like $620 a month or something.
Right.
Can you imagine that you just went and got an extra $600 whatever a month? That's another car in your driveway.
Right.
But we're just not thinking of it that way. Yeah. And so when you do that on a thing, I did $1,000 here and I gambled $2,000 last week, whatever. Now we've easily racked that money up. And so we got to, again, bring it back. Like, what am I looking for? I probably need another hobby.
Right.
And it sounds corny, right?
Want to make money.
Yeah. Or just to not really spend any money, right? Like, I don't know what you got to do. I don't know if maybe you need to go play catch with your kids. Maybe you need to go exercise. Maybe you need to watch trash TV. Like, there's enough 90-Day Fiancés and whatever for you to get involved in some type of drama to where you can be like, ooh, no, that's crazy. Okay, maybe you need to talk to your spouse. I don't know what it is that you need to do, but probably something other than keep putting yourself on the line. And I know that because like I said, I did just get back from Vegas, and they said that's one of their biggest competition now is that people are just gambling online, so they feel like they don't need to go. Yeah. And I'm not saying either of them is a good idea, but definitely just to be able to lose $1,000, $2,000 by going click is nuts.
Right.
At any time.
And not have a response to it though, or like not for it to be like,
yeah, you don't even have to see it. It's just gone. This is money that I spent. I don't know. I think they're going to all boil down to self-control.
I would just say I think that we should probably talk maybe another episode and really in depth about the psychology and this behind the online gambling thing. And I think that should be something that maybe we can go forward with and talk about. We're going to wrap up today, and we're going to go into just saying that next episode we're going to go into more of the uncommon or the more catastrophic events in life that we need to kind of prepare for. And like we said, something as common as, or it didn't used to be common, like gambling, and now it's common. That's something I think we probably need to just go really in depth with, if that would be of interest to you. And then we'll say next time we'll wrap up for today, and we'll talk to you guys next time when we dive more into the uncommon and more catastrophic money situations, financial situations. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.